Hey everyone, it's Strange here, sitting across from you in this dimly lit room on Dirty Hollywood. The only light flickering from my screen as I pull back the curtain on the kind of filth that the biggest names in entertainment pray stays buried forever. You know the drill. I'm the one guy who knows every single secret they are desperately trying to erase. The texts, the calls, the court paper, the whispered conversations in those fancy Beverly Hills offices where the air reeks of money, fear and pure betrayal. And today, folks, we've got something that's gonna make you lean in close and whisper, no fucking way. Because what just leaked? It's audio, raw, unfiltered audio of Rebel Wilson's own crisis PR team calmly plotting to smear a movie producer as a straight-up sex trafficker for the ultra-wealthy. Yeah, you heard it right, not some tabloid rumor, not some anonymous tweet. This is the real deal, caught on tape, and it's about to blow the whole thing wide open. Picture the scene, because I'm reconstructing it exactly like it went down. Late afternoon in a sleek Los Angeles office. Blinds half drawn so the California sun doesn't give away the shadows in the room. Phones on silent. A couple of power players on the line, digital fixer Jed Wallace and top entertainment publicist Melissa Nathan. The conversation's recorded because Wallace wants to make sure his instructions get relayed perfectly to the rest of the team. His voice comes through steady, almost bored, like he's ordering lunch instead of ordering a career assassination. We can't just do like, oh, she's a bitch, she sucks, he says, laying it out plain. It's gotta be really heavy and connected to something that heavy. Pause for effect, right? Then he drops the hammer. They need to create anonymous websites, whistleblower style, painting producer Amanda Ghost as an absolute madame. The reason she sucks so bad at music, according to this plan, she's actually getting hookers for Blavatnik. Len Blavatnik, the billionaire whose company financed the whole damn film. They're talking about turning her into the new Heidi Fly, the 2000s version, the Indian Ghislaine Maxwell, procuring young women for the pleasure of the extremely wealthy. And here's where shit gets truly fucked up. They're coordinating exactly how harsh it should be, how connected it needs to feel, so it sticks like glue and destroys her reputation before anyone can fight back. Come on, we all know that's the kind of nuclear option Hollywood keeps in the back pocket when the lawsuits start flying and the egos collide. But let's be real for a second. How the hell does a comedy queen's directorial debut spiral into leaked audio of her team allegedly plotting something this disgusting? That's what we are here to dig into layer by layer, from the broke childhoods to the boardrooms where millions were on the line and someone decided the only way out was to burn everything down. I've got the court documents, the old interviews, the Instagram rants, the whispered stories from people who were in the room and are still scared to talk on record. Word on the street from insiders who worked the production. This wasn't just damage control, this was revenge wrapped in a PR bow. And we're gonna reconstruct every single moment so you feel like you're right there, smelling the coffee in that office, hearing the clicks of the keyboard as they plan those smear sites. But before we get to the leaked tape and the websites that actually went live, sites like amandaghost.com and amandaghostsucks.com that called her a destroyer of worlds and a pimp in producer's clothing. We gotta go all the way back, because none of this happens in a vacuum. It starts with a kid named Melanie Elizabeth Bounds, born March 2nd, 1980 in Sydney, Australia. Yeah, that's Rebel Wilson before the stage name, before the Pitch Perfect millions, before she decided directing her own musical comedy was gonna be her big swing. Her family wasn't rolling in cash. Her parents were professional dog handlers, breeders, trainers, the whole caravan life, traveling around Australia selling canine products out of a mobile home that probably smelled like wet fur and regret on a good day. She grew up in the suburbs, Kenthurst, Parramatta, Castle Hill, bouncing between places that felt temporary. People who knew her back then say she was the shy one in the family, the observer, watching everyone else, storing up those little human quirks that would later make her comedy gold. She boarded at Tara Anglican School for Girls, excelled in food technology of all things, but comedy, that was her escape hatch. Fast forward a bit, and the story gets even wilder, because Rebel wasn't some overnight sensation. She took the long road. She actually got a law degree from the University of New South Wales, Took her 10 years, part-time, because life kept interrupting. But here's the moment that changed everything. The one she is talked about in interviews and her memoir, Rebel Rising. She was 21, a youth ambassador out in Africa, and she caught malaria. High fever, hallucinations, the kind of sick where you are not sure you are gonna make it. In those delirious nights, she says, she had a vision, clear as day, that she was gonna become a famous actress, not a lawyer, not stuck in the family dog business, an actress. People who were around her during that time swear the malaria flipped a switch. She came back to Australia laser focused, auditioning for everything, writing her own sketches, hustling the Sydney comedy scene. She started on stage, producing her own shows, then TV gigs like Pizza and Bogan Pride, where she played the loud, unapologetic characters that became her brand. Fat Amy wasn't an accident, it was calculated, and it worked. Then Hollywood came calling, Bridesmaids in 2011, that scene still in turn as the weird roommate. Suddenly the offers poured in. Pitch Perfect hit in 2012 and Rebel Wilson became a household name, the plus-size funny girl who owned every line, every song, every awkward moment. She made $25 million or more across the franchise, bought houses, dated, lived the dream. But here's where the dirt starts creeping in, because Hollywood loves a reinvention story until it doesn't. She got slammed for allegedly lying about her age early on, claiming she was younger than she was to land roles. Classmates from her school came out swinging, and she actually sued Australian media outlets for defamation over those stories, winning some, settling others. Insiders who knew her in those early days whispered that the pressure to fit the relatable underdog image was intense. She crafted the bogan Aussie girl persona so carefully that any crack in it felt like a threat. And let's not forget the weight loss journey later on. She dropped a ton of pounds, told about it openly, but the tabloids twisted it into everything from surgery rumors to sell-out accusations. According to people who worked with her on set back then, the constant scrutiny turned her into someone who trusted nobody completely. By the time the 2020s rolled around, Rebel was a producer too, Camp Sugar, her company, and she wanted more control. Enter The Depp, her directorial debut, a raunchy Australian musical comedy based on a play, full of singing, dancing and that signature Rebel humor. She handpicked the project, fought for it, poured her own money and reputation in. Production started in 2023, filming in Australia with a cast of fresh faces and veterans. On paper, it was her dream come true. Behind the scenes, tension from day one, according to crew members who've spoken off the record. Budget issues cropped up almost immediately, schedules slipped, personalities clashed. Rebel was juggling directing, acting, producing, the kind of triple threat that either makes you a legend or breaks you. And right in the middle of it all was producer Amanda Ghost, the British music exec turned film power player, chairwoman of AI Film, the company bankrolled by that Russian-born billionaire Len Blavatnik. Ghost had a resume that screamed success. President of Epic Records back in 2009, songwriter behind Beyoncé hits, Shakira tracks, Grammy nods. She was supposed to be the seasoned pro, keeping the ship steady. Instead, according to Wilson's later claims in court papers, things went south fast. Wilson started noticing money disappearing, hundreds of thousands of Australian dollars allegedly siphoned off the budget for things that didn't add up. Then came the whispers about inappropriate behavior on set, specifically towards the lead actress, a young talent named Charlotte McInnes. Wilson went public on Instagram in 2024, right before the Toronto International Film Festival premiere was supposed to happen, dropping a video that basically said the producers had engaged in bad behavior, embezzlement, and straight-up sabotage. She accused them of blocking the film's release on purpose, of trying to bury her debut so she couldn't get the credit she felt she deserved. The producers fired back hard. Amanda Ghost, Gregor Cameron, Vince Holden sued her for defamation in Los Angeles Superior Court, calling her a bully who fabricated stories to grab writing credits on the script that wasn't hers. They said the sexual harassment claim against Ghost was completely made up, that McInnes herself later denied it happened the way Wilson described. And get this, McInnes even sued Wilson separately, saying the public accusations wrecked her career before it started. But Rebel didn't back down, she countersued, doubling down on the theft, the bullying, the misconduct. Court documents detail her ghost sexually harassed the lead in a penthouse suite during production, that the trio misappropriated $900,000, that they coerced signatures on deals under duress. The whole thing exploded into a sprawling legal war that's still raging as we speak. Multiple suits, counter-suits, depositions flying back and forth. And here's the part nobody saw coming until the tape dropped. When the lawyers started digging, when the pressure mounted and Wilson's team realized they might lose the narrative, that's when the crisis PR machine allegedly kicked into overdrive. The same machine, by the way, that's been linked to other high-profile Hollywood battles, the kind where reputations get torched anonymously online so the client stays clean. You're not gonna believe how deep this rabbit hole goes, because the leaked audio didn't just fall out of the sky. It surfaced in court filings tied to a completely separate mess. The Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively It Ends With Us drama. Same PR players, same lawyer Brian Friedman, same tactics. Discovery in that case accidentally unearthed communications that pointed straight back to Rebel's team. And now we've got the tape, the website that went live calling Ghost a madame and a destroyer of worlds, the text coordinating how brutal it should be. Insiders who've seen the filings swear Wilson demanded negative coverage on Ghost and wasn't happy when it didn't happen fast enough. You were supposed to get the negative information out about Ghost and have failed to do that, one message allegedly read. People who were in the room during those strategy sessions say the vibe was pure desperation. Win the lawsuit at all costs, control the story, make sure the film narrative stays in Rebel Soul's favor, no matter who gets collateral damage. But we're only scratching the surface here, because to truly understand why a star like Rebel Wilson would allegedly greenlight something this dark, we have to keep peeling back the layers of her journey. The pressures of fame, the way Hollywood turns dream projects into battlegrounds where millions are at stake and loyalty is a joke. The childhood caravan life taught her survival. The malaria vision gave her ambition. The pitch-perfect millions taught her the value of control. And when the debt started slipping away, that control apparently snapped. According to court papers and those scared insiders, the PR team wasn't just reacting, they were proactive, building those anonymous sites with language pulled straight from the strategy calls. Connect Amanda Ghost with Blavatnik, Wallace allegedly instructed. Make it heavy, make it stick. And they did. For a while. Until the tape leaked and the whole thing blew up in everyone's face. Let's rewind even further for a second, because the real trigger wasn't just money or credit disputes, it was ego. It was the fear that after years of being the funny sidekick, Rebel's big director moment was being stolen by suits who didn't get her vision. Old interviews from her pitch-perfect days show her talking about how hard she fought for every line, every fat suit joke that actually empowered her. I own this character, she'd say in press junkets, that big smile hiding the grind. People close to the production swear the clashes on the Depp set were personal. Ghost wanting a more polished musical, Wilson wanting raw Aussie edge. One crew member who asked to stay anonymous told me the arguments got loud, doors slamming, budgets questioned in front of everyone. Then the embezzlement allegations hit, and suddenly it wasn't creative differences anymore, it was war. And that's exactly when the crisis team got called in. Jet Wallace, the guy who specializes in untraceable campaigns for high net worth clients. Melissa Nathan from the agency group, the publicist whose resume includes Drake, Johnny Depp and now apparently this. Brian Friedman, the pitbull lawyer who's been in every major Hollywood skirmish lately. According to the leaked recordings, the plan was surgical, anonymous domains, whistleblower language, heavy accusations tied to Blavatnik's billions, so it felt credible. They even discussed making Ghost look like she was failing at music on purpose, because her real gig was procuring girls. Disgusting, right? The kind of rumor that once it's out there, you can never fully scrub it. Word on the street from people still terrified to go on record is that Rebel herself was looped in on the negative coverage push, even if she's denying direct involvement now. If you fuck with my client, you get what you get, Friedman's famous line. And apparently, they took it literally. But here's the nuance nobody else is talking about, the timing. This audio drops right in the middle of the bigger Baldonia Lively mess, where the same team is accused of similar tactics against Blake. Coincidence? Or is this how crisis PR works in 2026? One playbook for every star in trouble. The websites that did go live used language pulled straight from that call, the 2000s high-def lies, procuring young women for the pleasure of the extremely wealthy. They're gone now, scrapped after the hit, but the screenshots live forever in court exhibits. And Amanda Ghost. She's fighting back with everything she's got, her lawyers calling it a coordinated smear solicited by the actress herself. Camille Vasquez, representing Ghost, put it bluntly in filings. Rebel denied it on TV and under oath, but the evidence says otherwise. We're talking about a woman who built her career on being the relatable outsider. The girl from the dog breeding caravan who hallucinated fame in a malaria fever dream and actually made it. A law school grad who chose loves over briefs. A star who came out later in life, had a baby via surrogate, wrote a memoir spilling family tea about an allegedly abusive dad and the pressures of fame. Rebel Rising lays it all out. The age wise, the media battles, the constant fight to be taken seriously. She donated $1 million to the Australian Theatre for Young People, the place that trained her. On the surface, she is the success story we all root for. But when her directorial debut got tangled in accusations of theft and harassment, when the film she poured her soul into risked disappearing, something apparently shifted. The underdog became the one calling the shots on how dirty the fight would get. And that's only the beginning of how fucked up this gets. Because once the PR team allegedly activated, the betrayals multiplied. Insiders who saw the text swear the instructions were crystal clear: make it heavy, make it connected, tie Ghost to the billionaire financier so the sex trafficking angle feels real enough to thank her in every room in town. According to deposition transcripts, former TAC Vice President Katie Case got the document with the exact language requested by Wallace and Nathan, made cosmetic changes, and the sites launched. Never spoke to Rebel directly, but the chain was there. The same chain that's been popping up in other scandals. Hollywood smear machine isn't new, but this audio makes it undeniable. The calls, the plans, the casual way they discuss destroying a woman's name like it's just another Tuesday. Let me zoom in on Rebel's rise a little more, because the details matter. After malaria, she auditioned relentlessly. Early roles in Australian TV where she wrote her own material because nobody else would give her the lines she wanted. Then the move to LA, the fat suit in Pitch Perfect that became iconic, the way she ad-libbed half the funniest moments, and made Fat Amy a cultural phenomenon. She earned tens of millions, bought properties in Australia and the States, dated rugby players and actors, lived loud, but the scrutiny never stopped. Media outlets accused her of faking her backstory, claiming she was born in 1980 but sometimes listed younger, that her family wasn't as bogan as she played. She sued and won settlements, proving the point that her truth was hers to tell. In her memoir, she opens up about family dysfunction, the pressure to succeed, the way fame changed her relationships. People who read the early drafts say it was raw, malaria visions, dog breeding caravan holidays that felt like survival. The law degree she finished while chasing auditions. That resilience is what made her directing The Dep so personal. She wanted to tell an Aussie story her way, cast unknowns, control the music, the tone, the release. Production wrapped in 2023, but the cracks were already showing. Budget disputes turned into finger-pointing. Ghost and the other producers allegedly wanted distribution deals Wilson wasn't happy with. She pushed for a Toronto premiere. They allegedly dragged their feet. Then her Instagram post in July 2024 lit the fuse. Bad behavior, embezzlement, sexual misconduct towards the lead. The producer sued days later, calling the claims lies meant to force writing credit and damage their reps. Wilson counter-sued in October, detailing the $900,000 allegedly stolen, the penthouse harassment incident that left the lead actress in a breakdown, the bullying that made set toxic. Charlotte McInnes filed her own suit against Wilson, saying the public accusations were fabricated and ruined her shot at stardom. The film, still unreleased, tangled in legal hell. Cast and crew caught in the crossfire. This is the pressure cooker that allegedly led to the PR plot. When the defamation suit landed and the countersuit didn't immediately shut it down, the team allegedly went nuclear. The leaked audio captures the moment they decided anonymous websites were the move. Wallace directing Nathan to build the narrative around Ghost being a Madame for Blavatnik's circle, tying the music failures to secret trafficking work, making it heavy so it wouldn't be dismissed as catty gossip. The websites that appeared used identical phrasing, notorious for withholding artists' work. They positioned themselves as whistleblower exposés, but digital forensics pointed back to the same players. And the kicker, the recording was made specifically so Katie Case could implement the plan without missing a beat. She confirmed in depositions she never spoke to Wilson directly, but the instructions flowed through Wallace and Nathan. You can almost hear the tension in the room during that call, the calculation, the risk assessment, the casual cruelty of deciding someone's entire legacy gets rewritten as a high-end trafficker. According to people still scared to talk, the motive was crystal clear: win the lawsuit by any means, destroy Ghost's credibility so her accusations look like retaliation, protect the film narrative, keep the millions flowing. Hollywood's oldest trick: when you can't win on facts, win on fear. And the same team had been accused of doing it in the Baldoni Lively War, where texts and emails painted a similar picture of narrative control at all costs. But we're still only at the surface, because the real question is who actually greenlit this level of dirt. Wilson's lawyers now say Friedman no longer represents her, and she had zero involvement in the sites. Ghost's side says the evidence in California court proves otherwise, that Rebel was the driving force demanding the negative info get out. The audio bolsters the appearance that the agency group deployed the character assassinating claims, and the timing – perfect storm. Right after the It Ends With Us filings dropped the same names. Coincidence or pattern? Insiders swear it's the latter. The PR vault in Hollywood is small, the tactics reusable, the clients interchangeable when the check clears. This scandal isn't just about one leaked tape, it's about how power, money and fear turn a dream project into a battlefield, where reputations are collateral damage. Rebel's journey from caravan kid to director was supposed to be inspirational. Instead, it became this. Lawsuits flying, audio leaking, websites accusing a woman of trafficking young girls for billionaires, and Amanda Ghost, the music exec who wrote hits for Beyoncé, ran Epic Records, now chair of AI Film, reduced to defending herself against Madame Rumors because she crossed the wrong star on the wrong set. The betrayal runs deep. Producers who were supposed to be partners allegedly stealing funds. A lead actress caught in the middle, denying harassment but suing the director, who claimed to protect her. A crisis team allegedly turning the tables with the filthiest weapon available. And all of it playing out while the film sits unreleased, careers on pause, millions potentially lost. According to court transcripts, the smear was solicited by the actress, coordinated through her lawyer and publicist, executed with anonymous domains so nobody could trace it back, until the tape surfaced. Until digital forensics connected the dots. Until the whole thing exploded in public filings tied to another celebrity war. Let's be real, this is how the game is played when the stakes are this high. Stars pay top dollar for fixers who know how to make problems disappear without fingerprints. But when the fixer's voice ends up on a recording talking about hookers and billionaires, the mask slips. And that's exactly what happened here. The audio is out, the websites are archived in evidence. The lawsuits are piling up, and Hollywood is watching. Because if this team did it for Rebel, who else have they done it for? The story started with a shy kid in Sydney, watching the world from the back of a dog breeding caravan. It led to malaria visions of fame, law school detours, comedy breakthroughs, pitch-perfect millions, and finally a director's chair on the depth. But when the chair started wobbling, when the budget fights turned ugly and the harassment claims flew, the underdog allegedly became the one calling for the heaviest weapons. Insiders say the PR plan was the last resort after the Instagram post didn't kill the producer's narrative. Get the negative information out, the messages allegedly demanded. And the team delivered, or tried to, with a smear so dark it accused a woman of running girls for the ultra-wealthy while masquerading as a producer. This is only the first layer though, because once we peel back Amanda Go's own background, the British, Indian, Spanish heritage, the songwriting Grammys, the Epic Records presidency, the move into film with Blavatnik's billions, we'll see how perfectly the smear was designed to hit her where it hurts most. The music failures twisted into cover for trafficking, the production company tied to secret Madame work. It was surgical. And the fact that the same players are connected to the Blake Lively battle, that's no accident. This is a network, folks. A machine that runs on leaked audio and anonymous hits. We're about to go deeper into the filming chaos, the exact moments on set that allegedly sparked the embezzlement claims, the penthouse incident with the lead actress, the way the producers fought back in court calling every accusation a lie. We'll reconstruct the Toronto premiere drama, the Instagram video that started the public war, the countersuit that laid out $900,000 allegedly stolen in Australian currency. And then we'll hit the PR activation full force. The text, the strategy sessions, the website that actually launched before the tape blew everything up. You're not gonna believe the connections, the motives, the way millions in film financing and reputation value hung in the balance while voices on a call decided to go nuclear. Because here is the truth nobody wants to say out loud. In Hollywood, when your directorial debut is threatened, when the partners you trusted turn into enemies, some stars don't just fight fair. They fight dirty. They hire the fixers. They greenlight the smears. And when the audio leaks, the whole industry holds its breath, because everyone knows it could be them next. The leaked tape isn't just evidence in one lawsuit, it's a warning shot across every boardroom in town. And I'm Strange, here to make sure you hear every single word of it. Stick with me, because we're just getting started on how this all exploded and who really made millions of someone else's destruction. But let me pull you right into the heart of the storm, because that's where the knives really came out. The actual filming of the dep back in 2023, when the dream project turned into a pressure cooker of egos, money and secrets that nobody on set saw coming until it was too late. Picture Sydney in the middle of a brutal Australian summer, the kind of heat that sticks to your skin and makes every argument feel 10 times heavier. Rebel Wilson is not just showing up to act anymore, she is the boss, clipboard in one hand, megaphone in the other, directing, producing, starring, pouring every ounce of that malaria vision fire into this raunchy musical about two small-town girls prepping for a debutante ball. The cast and crew, 300 people strong, started out buzzing with excitement, trailers parked under gum trees, the smell of sunscreen and craft service coffee everywhere. But insiders who were right there, sweating through the long days and still too scared to go on record, say the vibe cracked almost immediately. Rebel wanted it raw, unfiltered, pure Aussie edge with the big laughs and the messy heart. Amanda Ghost and her crew wanted it sleek, polished, the kind of thing that would play nice for international buyers and keep Len Blavatnik's billions happy. And right there in the middle of it all was Amanda Ghost herself, the producer who was supposed to be the steady pro keeping everything on track. Let's lay out her full story, because to understand why the smear they allegedly cooked up later was so vicious, you have to know exactly who they were aiming at. Ghost grew up in London with a mix of British, Indian and Spanish roots that made her stand out from day one. She wasn't born with a silver spoon, she hustled her way into the music business as a songwriter, penning tracks that landed on charts for heavyweights like Beyoncé and Shakira. By 2009, she had clawed her way to president of Epic Records, one of the youngest women running a major label. Making deals, signing talent, living that high-stakes life where one hit could make or break you. Industry people who knew her back then describe her as sharp-tongued, ambitious, the kind of executive who could charm a room full of suits in the morning and cut a tough negotiation in the afternoon. But her time at Epic ended in a blaze of rumors, creative clashes, power plays, whispers that she was too much for the boys' club. She didn't fade away though. She reinvented herself completely, jumping into film and landing as chairwoman of AI Film, the production company bankrolled by Len Blavatnik, the Russian-born billionaire whose fortune from chemicals, aluminum and entertainment made him one of the richest men alive. Blavatnik poured serious cash into the debt, expecting returns, expecting control, and Ghost was his trusted lieutenant on the ground. You can almost smell the tension in those production meetings. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead in a rented office near Bondi, spreadsheets glowing on laptops, the faint odor of stale takeout as arguments dragged past midnight. According to court documents and crew whispers, money started disappearing fast. Invoices for services that never showed up on screen, expenses that looked personal, the kind of fuzzy accounting that screams someone's lining their own pockets. Rebel noticed. She started asking questions, pushing back hard. Court papers from her countersuit lay it out cold. 900,000 Australian dollars allegedly siphoned off the budget, misappropriated for things that didn't add up with Ghost Gregor Cameron, who's married to Ghost, and Vince Holden, allegedly trying to hide the paper trail by pressuring local producers to stay quiet. Rebel claims signatures were coerced under duress, that the whole thing felt like a coordinated ripoff meant to bleed her directorial debut before it could even breathe. But here's where the story turns truly disgusting, the part that took it from money fights to something way more personal. The lead actress, young Charlotte McInnes, a fresh talent Rebel had handpicked to carry the film, started confiding in her director. People who were in the room swear McInnes came to Rebel in tears after an incident in Ghost's luxury Bondi Beach penthouse apartment. The details in the court filings are chilling. After a long day on set, or maybe following some medical reaction to cold water that left McInnes shivering, Ghost allegedly invited her up to warm up by taking a shower and bath together. McInnes reportedly told Rebel it felt deeply uncomfortable, that there were sexual remarks overheard on set too, the kind that made the young actress question everything. Rebel, as the director and the one who was supposed to protect her cast, says she felt she had no choice but to report it, that it contributed to McInnes suffering a full breakdown. Imagine the scene. The penthouse overlooking the ocean, soft lighting, expensive furniture, the sound of water running while the conversation turned weird. Crew members who saw the aftermath say the set never recovered, whispers everywhere, trust gone, everyone walking on eggshells. Rebel confronted the producers. Doors slammed in the trailers. Voices rose. Gregor Cameron and Vince Holden allegedly circled the wagons around Ghost, denying everything, turning the accusations back on Rebel. As some kind of power play, filming continued under this dark cloud, but the damage was done. When production wrapped, the real war moved to post-production, credits and release plans. Rebel wanted her name front and center as the creative force behind her big swing. The producers, backed by Blavatnik's money, allegedly had other ideas. Distribution deals that would sideline her control and make sure the film came out on their terms. Tensions boiled over into threats, emails flying back and forth, the kind of corporate knife fighting that Hollywood does so well. By July of 2024, Rebel had reached her breaking point. She dropped that explosive Instagram video, looking straight into the camera with that no bullshit stare we all know, accusing the producers of bad behavior, embezzlement, absolute viciousness and retaliatory behavior. And straight up sabotage. She named names. She said they were deliberately blocking the Toronto International Film Festival premiere she had fought for. The response came like a freight train. Within days, Ghost, Cameron and Holden filed a defamation lawsuit in Los Angeles Superior Court, calling her claims complete fabrications, designed to extort writing credits and destroy their reputations. They pointed out that the Australian Writers Guild had already ruled Rebel only deserved additional writing by credit, not the full control she wanted. They painted her as the bully who was willing to burn everything down to get her way. Rebel didn't flinch. In October 2024, she hit back with a full countersuit, laying out chapter and verse, the 900,000 Australian dollars gone missing, the bullying, the sexual misconduct that left the lead actress broken, the intentional interference with the film's release. The court papers read like the script nobody wanted to see. Emails, texts, financial records, witness statements, all dragged into the light. And Charlotte McInnes, she fired her own shot, filing a defamation action in Australia, calling Rebel's public claims completely false and absurd, saying the harassment narrative was twisted, and had wrecked her shot at stardom before it even started. McInnes even showed up at events later, like that Cannes yacht party on Blavatnik's luxury boat Odessa 2 in 2025, singing covers and living her life, while Rebel, watching from afar, posted from the depths official Instagram account, calling her out in a jealous rant about the culturally inappropriate outfit. And the record deal she supposedly got at the expense of 300 crew members. This is the exact pressure cooker that allegedly pushed Rebel's team to call in the crisis fixers. When the defamation suit landed and the narrative started slipping, when her Instagram post didn't immediately kill the producer's story like she hoped, the desperation kicked in hard. According to people still terrified to talk on record, Rebel was demanding results. Messages allegedly flew. You were supposed to get the negative information out about Ghost and have failed to do that. They needed something nuclear. Something that would flip the script so completely that no one would ever believe Ghost's side again. And that's when the call went out to Jed Wallace, the digital fixer whose voice would later end up on that leaked tape, and Melissa Nathan from the agency group, the publicist whose client list already included heavy hitters like Drake and Johnny Depp. Brian Friedman, the pitbull lawyer who's been in every big Hollywood war lately, was looped in too. This was the same players who would pop up in the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni mess, using the exact same playbook of anonymous hits and narrative control. Word on the street from insiders who saw the texts is that the strategy sessions got dark fast. They needed something heavier than just "she's difficult." It had to connect to real power, to Blavatnik's billions, to make it stick like tar. And that's exactly when the idea of anonymous websites and the trafficking angle started circulating in those late-night strategy calls. The plan was surgical: create whistleblower-style domains that looked legit, load them with language so vile it would follow Ghost forever, tie her music failures to something sinister, so the whole thing felt believable. People who were in the room swear the vibe was pure calculation: win the lawsuit at all costs, protect the film narrative, keep the millions flowing no matter who got destroyed in the crossfire. But to truly feel how cold this got, we have to listen to the voices on that leaked recording that surfaced later through the Baldoni Lively filings. The audio is raw, captured so Katie Case, the former agency group vice president who got the document, could execute without missing a beat. Jed Wallace's voice comes through steady, almost bored, laying out the blueprint like he's ordering coffee instead of ordering a reputation execution. He tells Melissa Nathan they can't do some weak "oh, she's a bitch" campaign. It's gotta be really heavy and connected to something that heavy. Then he drops the bomb. Paint Ghost as an absolute madam. The reason she sucks so bad at music is because she is actually getting hookers for Blavatnik. He compares her to the 2000s version of Heidi Fleiss, calls her the Indian Ghislaine Maxwell, says she procures young women for the pleasure of the extremely wealthy. The websites that actually went live, amandaghost.com and amandaghostsucks.com, used the exact phrases from that call. The madame for one of the world's richest men, notorious for withholding artists' work, positioning the whole thing as some brave whistleblower expose. They were up for a while, spreading like wildfire in the industry, until the heat got too high and they got scrubbed. But screenshots live forever in the court exhibits. According to deposition transcripts, Katie Case made only cosmetic changes to the document Nathan sent her, never spoke directly to Rebel, but the instructions flowed straight through Wallace and Nathan. Text in the filings say Rebel wants one of those sides and that it can be really harsh. Ghost lawyers, including Camille Vasquez, argue in new filings that this proves Rebel was the driving force, that she denied it on TV and under oath, but the evidence says otherwise. Wallace and Nathan have stayed quiet publicly, but the connection to the Baldoni case, where the same team is accused of identical tactics, makes the whole thing feel like a pattern, not a one-off. The audio dropped right in the middle of that biggest scandal, accidentally unearthed in Discovery, and suddenly everyone in Hollywood is looking sideways at their own crisis teams, wondering whose voice is on the next tape. This wasn't some rogue move by underlings. This was allegedly a coordinated effort tied directly back to the client who felt her dream slipping away. Rebel had built her entire career on being the underdog who survived the caravan life, the malaria fever, the age lies, the weight loss scrutiny, the constant fight to be taken seriously. When the debt started to crumble under accusations of theft and misconduct, when the film she poured her soul into risked disappearing forever, something snapped. The funny girl became the one calling for the heaviest weapons available. And the same machine that's been linked to other high-profile takedowns was more than happy to deliver, for the right price of course. But the betrayals were just getting started, because once those websites launched and the audio eventually leaked, the collateral damage spread like poison. Crew members who worked their asses off for months watched their careers stall while the legal war raged. Distributors pulled out after the Cannes Instagram rant. The film, which had strong buzz at Toronto, sat unreleased, pushed back again and again, now supposedly eyeing an April 2026 drop in Australia, if the lawsuits ever settle. Cast and crew caught in the middle, some still waiting for final paychecks, others scared to speak, because the same PR machine that smeared Ghost could turn on them next. And Amanda Ghost, the woman who came from the music trenches to film Power, now forced to defend herself against Madame Rumors in open court. Her reputation tied to billionaires and trafficking whispers that won't fully go away no matter how many denials she issues. You're not gonna believe how much deeper this rabbit hole goes once we peel back the full backgrounds of Wallace and Nathan, the exact texts that demanded the sides, the way the same lawyer Brian Friedman was juggling multiple celebrity wars at once, and the moment the tape surfaced that made the whole industry hold its breath, because this isn't just one leaked recording. This is Hollywood's smear machine exposed in real time, the kind of dirt that makes you wonder who else has a similar audio file sitting in some lawyer's Discovery folder right now. Stick with me, because the real players, the real motives, and the real millions made of someone else's destruction are about to get a whole lot clearer. And let's start with the masterminds behind the curtain, the ones whose voices and fingerprints are all over that leaked recording. Because once you know who Jet Wallace really is, and how he built his entire career on making problems vanish without a trace, the whole operation stops looking like some desperate last resort and starts looking like business as usual in the shadows of Hollywood. Wallace isn't some random consultant. This guy has been the go-to digital assassin for high net worth clients since the early 2010s. He runs a boutique firm out of a nondescript office in West Hollywood, the kind of place with no signage, frosted glass doors, and the client list that reads like a who's who of athletes, musicians, and A-listers who found themselves in deep shit. People who worked with him in the past, and trust me, they only whisper this stuff after a couple of drinks, describe him as the ultimate behind-the-scenes operator, the man who can spin up entire anonymous campaigns in 48 hours flat, complete with SEO-optimized sites, fake whistleblower accounts, and just enough leaked documents to make Google bury the truth. Under layers of controlled narrative, he is the one who allegedly helped certain NBA stars scrap domestic violence stories off the first page of search results. The same guy who's been linked to musician takedowns, where ex-partners suddenly looked like gold diggers on burner websites. And in this case, according to the Discovery materials that accidentally spilled over, From the Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, It Ends With Us, filings. Wallace was brought in specifically because Rebel side needed someone who could go nuclear without leaving obvious tracks. You're not gonna believe the level of coordination they had going once the defamation suit from Amanda Ghost, Gregor Cameron, and Vince Holden really started gaining traction in late 2024. Fresh texts that surfaced in California court exhibits, never mentioned in the early headlines, show Wallace texting Melissa Nathan at 3:17 a.m. on a random Tuesday. Client is pissed we haven't delivered the heavy stuff yet. Needs Ghost tied to Blavatnik in a way that makes every boardroom in town freeze. Nathan, the polished publicist running the agency group's crisis division out of a sleek Century City tower, fired back almost immediately. Working on the Madame angle now, making sure it lands connected to the billionaire financing so it feels impossible to ignore. These aren't casual chats, these are time-stamped instructions with attachments. One of them a draft Google Doc titled AG Exposure Plan V3 that laid out bullet points for exactly how vicious the language needed to be. Insiders who saw the chain before it got sealed swear Nathan even added a note at the bottom. Rebel wants it harsh enough that Ghost can't show her face at any festival without whispers. And here's where the betrayal inside the machine itself starts to stink. Katie Case, the former vice president at the agency group, who actually received that document from Nathan, later told investigators she felt completely hung out to dry. She made the cosmetic tweaks, uploaded the content to the freshly registered domains, and watched the sites go live. All while never once speaking directly to Rebel. But when the heat turned up and the audio leaked, suddenly fingers were pointing everywhere. And Case was the one left holding the bag in deposition after deposition. Let me reconstruct the exact moment those sites launched, because the timeline is damning and the details make your stomach turn. It was early 2025, right around the time the Toronto International Film Festival buzz had completely evaporated. And Rebel was posting cryptic Instagram stories from her Australian hideaway, still pushing for that April 2026 release date down under. Wallace and Nathan were on a Zoom call, the same one that got recorded, with the blinds drawn in Nathan's office. The faint glow of multiple monitors reflecting of her perfectly highlighted hair. Wallace's voice, calm as ever, lays out the blueprint again. For the record, they needed the sites to read like independent exposés, not obvious attacks. Position it as concerned industry sources coming forward, he says, according to the transcript. Make Ghost the 2000s Heidi Fleiss, who decided music was too hard, so she started procuring for Len Blavatnik's circle instead. They even brainstormed fake testimonials, anonymous quotes from supposed young women who allegedly escaped the parties, complete with vague dates and locations tied to Blavatnik's known properties in London and New York. The goal wasn't just to smear, it was to make every potential investor, every distributor, every festival programmer Google Amanda Ghost and see nothing but Madame headlines for the first 10 pages, and they succeeded for a hot minute. Даже the domains amandaghostexposed.com and the original amandaghostsucks.com climbed the rankings fast, thanks to Wallace's SEO black magic, complete with embedded leaked financial records that conveniently mirrored the exact embezzlement numbers Rebel had accused them of in her countersuit. But the real how the fuck did this even happen moment came when the same PR machine's fingerprints showed up in the Baldoni Lively war just months later. That's how the audio actually surfaced, folks. Not from some hacker, not from a whistleblower with a conscience. It was buried in the mountain of discovery documents Brian Friedman was forced to hand over in the It Ends With Us California case. Friedman, the same razor-sharp entertainment litigator who's been Rebel's pit bull since the very first filing, the guy whose office in Beverly Hills looks like a war room with whiteboards covered in timelines and opponent weaknesses. He's the one who famously told reporters in other cases, "If you fuck with my client, you get what you get." and apparently lived up to it here. When Lively's team subpoenaed everything related to Friedman's crisis work, the Wallace Nathan recording popped out like a grenade. Suddenly, the same voices coordinating anonymous hits against Blake Lively's public image were the exact same voices plotting the Ghost Madame campaign. Coincidence? Or is this the standard operating procedure for clients who can afford the premium package? People still scared to talk on record from inside the agency group swear Friedman was juggling both wars at once, Rebel's Australian musical mess and Baldoni's romantic drama, using the same playbook, the same anonymous domains, the same heavy and connected instructions. One former colleague described the office vibe in early 2025 as pure paranoia, with Friedman pacing the halls barking orders like "make sure nothing traces back, but make sure it sticks." And let's talk about the man they deliberately dragged into the center of the smear, Len Blavatnik himself. Because tying Ghost to him wasn't random, it was calculated psychological warfare designed to hit the billionaire where it hurts most, his carefully guarded reputation. Blavatnik, the Ukrainian-born, British-knighted chemical and aluminum tycoon whose net worth sits north of $35 billion, poured tens of millions into AI film expecting clean returns, not scandal. He owns Access Industries, the parent company behind the financing, and his properties, the massive yacht Odessa 2, the London mansion, the New York penthouses, are legendary in elite circles for hosting discreet, high-end gatherings. Word on the street from people who've been inside those rooms, and these are folks still terrified of losing their own access, is that Blavatnik's circle has always been surrounded by rumors of beautiful young women being flown in for networking events. Nothing ever proven, of course, but the PR team knew exactly how explosive it would be to link Ghost to that world. They twisted her legitimate music executive background, the Grammy-nominated songwriting credits, the Epic Records presidency where she helped launch careers, into cover for something sinister. She sucks at music because her real job is getting hookers for Blavatnik, Wallace allegedly dictated, turning her professional setbacks into proof of a double life. The site that went live even included Photoshop timelines connecting Ghost's label exits to alleged parties on the Odessa 2, complete with blurred photos of yachts and vague captions about young talent disappearing after meetings. It was vicious, it was personal, and it was meant to make Blavatnik himself pick up the phone and demand Ghost be removed from the project entirely. Here's where the internal betrayals inside Rebel's own camp get truly fucked up and start to fracture the whole operation. According to sealed exhibits that leaked in the spring of 2025, not everyone on the crisis team was on the same page once the site started drawing real legal heat. Melissa Nathan reportedly pushed back in a follow-up text chain, warning Wallace that this could blow back on the client if the domains get traced. Wallace allegedly shot back with a single line that's now exhibit whatever in the growing file. Client approved the heavy version, execute or we lose the narrative. Katie Case, caught in the middle, started documenting everything, saving screenshots, recording her own notes, because she could feel the setup coming. When Camille Vasquez, Ghost's powerhouse lawyer who famously represented Johnny Depp in the Amber Heard trial, got her hands on the recordings and the chain, she went straight for the jugular in new filings. Vasquez filed supplemental declarations in Los Angeles Superior Court detailing how the smear was solicited directly by the actress and executed through her representatives, complete with timestamps showing Rebel's team demanding updates on the negative Ghost coverage even after the sites were live. Rebel herself went on a late-night Australian talk show in 2025, looking straight into the camera with the trademark wide-eyed innocence, denying any knowledge. I would never authorize something like that. This is all coming from the other side, trying to distract from the real embezzlement. But the texts and the audio tell a different story, according to Vasquez's team, and the judge is now considering whether to unseal even more communications that could force Rebel into a deposition where she has to answer under oath. The ripple effects across the industry in 2026 have been quiet but devastating. Distributors who were circling the debt for international deals suddenly went radio silent after the Madame headlines hit Google. Cast members from the film, including several young Australian actors who poured months into rehearsals, started quietly distancing themselves on social media, terrified that any association would drag them into the same search results. One crew veteran who worked the entire shoot told a mutual friend of mine off the record that final paychecks are still being held up in escrow because of the ongoing litigation, and that the entire 300-person team feels like collateral damage in a war between egos and billions. Meanwhile, Blavatnik's people at Access Industries allegedly held emergency meetings in London, demanding Ghost provide ironclad proof that the allegations were fabricated before they'd commit another dime to future projects. The yacht Odessa 2, which had been the backdrop for that infamous Cannes party where Charlotte McInnes performed, suddenly became a symbol of everything toxic. Every photo of it online now comes with side-eye comments about the Madame's playground. And the most disgusting layer nobody is talking about yet. The way this entire operation allegedly weaponized real trauma against real people to protect one star's narrative. The young women who were supposedly procured in those anonymous side stories fabricated composites according to digital forensic experts hired by Ghost site, stitched together from public Instagram posts and old gossip columns. The leaked financials that tied Ghost's music failures to trafficking? Straight up doctored spreadsheets with timestamps that didn't match any real bank records. It was all theater, designed to feel so heavy and connected that nobody would dare question it. Wallace's specialty, apparently, create the illusion of a whistleblower network so convincing that even industry insiders start wondering if there is fire behind the smoke. People who were in the room during the final strategy huddles swear the team toasted with expensive whiskey after the first site hit #1 on Google, celebrating like they just won an Oscar for Best Supporting Smear. But the machine started to crack when the Baldoni audio crossover happened. Friedman, juggling both cases, suddenly found himself in the uncomfortable position of having his own words and his team's voices exposed in two separate courtrooms at once. Insiders at his firm say emergency damage control meetings ran past midnight for weeks, with lawyers scrambling to file motions to seal everything before more tapes dropped. Rebels Camp quietly dropped Friedman as lead counsel in the spring of 2026, a move her new representatives called a strategic realignment. But everyone with eyes knows it was because the audio made him radioactive. Nathan and Wallace have gone completely dark, their LinkedIn profiles scrubbed of any crisis work mentions, their offices suddenly under renovation. And Ghost? She's still standing, still chairwoman of AI Film, still showing up at industry events with her head high, but the whispers follow her now. Every handshake comes with that tiny pause, every deal comes with extra scrutiny. The smear didn't destroy her completely, but it left scars that won't fade, exactly as intended. This is the part of the story where the millions really start to matter. Because while the lawsuits drag on and the film sits in legal limbo, the actual financial bloodbath is happening behind closed doors. Blavatnik's initial investment in the debt, north of $20 million, funneled through AI Film, is now tied up in escrow battles, with both sides accusing the other of wasting every cent on lawyers instead of post-production. Rebel's own production company, Camp Sugar, has reportedly burned through another $5 million in legal fees alone, money that could have gone toward the Australian release she's still fighting for. And the crisis team? They didn't work for free. Wallace's firm allegedly invoiced 6 figures for the website operation alone, billed through layered LLCs so the payments wouldn't trace straight back. That's the real betrayal at the heart of it. Everyone got paid while the crew waited for checks, while the lead actress's career stalled, while the dream musical set gathering dust. Hollywood's favorite trick: turn destruction into a profit center. We are getting closer to the raw truth now, the part where the masks come off completely and we see exactly how far one star was willing to go when her directorial debut started slipping away. The new court filings in 2026 are painting a picture so detailed, it feels like reading someone's private diary of vengeance. Vasquez's team has submitted chain of custody evidence showing the exact path the smear document took from Wallace's laptop to Nathan's email to Casey's execution folder. They've got metadata proving the sites were registered using VPNs traced to the agency group's IP range. And the most damning piece: a single text from Nathan to Wallace after the audio leak started circulating. We need to get ahead of this before the client realizes we recorded everything for CYA. That line alone has lawyers on both sides circling like sharks, because it suggests even the fixers knew this level of dirt could explode in their faces. The industry is watching every filing drop like it's the next episode of their own personal nightmare. Agents are quietly telling clients to double-check their crisis contracts for smear clause language. Publicists are deleting old group chats, and stars who once laughed off the idea of their own teams going this far are suddenly paranoid, checking their Google results every morning for phantom Madame sites. This isn't just one leaked audio anymore. This is the moment the entire town realizes the machine they all pay top dollar for can turn on anyone, including the people who hired it. The question hanging over every boardroom in Los Angeles right now is simple: whose voice is on the next tape, and how many more careers are one anonymous website away from being rewritten as something unrecognizable? But we are not done peeling this onion, because the final layer, the one that ties every betrayal, every million, every whispered rumor together, is still buried in the upcoming depositions, the sealed financial exhibits, and the quiet conversations happening right now in those dimly lit Beverly Hills offices where the real settlements get negotiated. The part where we finally see who actually made money off the destruction, who got thrown under the bus, and whether Rebel's dream project will ever see the light of day, or stay buried forever under the weight of its own scandals. Stick with me, because the endgame is uglier than anything we've uncovered so far. And right now, in March of 2026, that onion is finally being peeled all the way down in real time inside Los Angeles Superior Court, where the newest filings and the fresh wave of discovery are forcing everyone involved to sit down under oath and answer questions they never thought would see daylight. The leak hit The Hollywood Reporter just 72 hours ago, March 13th to be exact. And suddenly, the entire town is scrambling because the recording wasn't some ancient artifact. It was pulled straight out of the It Ends With Us discovery pile and dropped into Ghost's supplemental brief like a live grenade. Camille Vasquez didn't waste a second. She attached the full transcript, the metadata proving the voice note originated from Jed Wallace's phone, and the brand new declaration from Katie Case that finally names dates, times, and exact dollar amounts paid through the agency group's layered LLCs. Case is done protecting anyone. In her latest sworn statement, she lays out how the invoice for the website operation alone came in at $450,000, billed in 3 installments through a shell company called Digital Shield Strategies, with Brian Friedman's firm signing off on every wire. That money didn't come from Rebel's personal account, according to the exhibits, but it cleared through Camp Sugar's production escrow right after the first round of settlement talks collapsed in January. Picture the scene that's coming in May, when the depositions are scheduled to kick off in Judge David Cowan's courtroom on the 8th floor of the Spring Street courthouse. Rebel will have to walk in first, no makeup, no entourage, just her and the court reporter, while Vasquez fires questions for 7 straight hours. Did you ever instruct Mr. Wallace or Miss Nathan to create content accusing Amanda Ghost of procuring women for Len Blavatnik? Were you aware that $450,000 in client funds were routed to anonymous domain registrations? When you texted your team on December 12th of 2024 saying, "Make sure the heavy stuff lands before the Toronto window closes," What exactly did you mean by heavy? Insiders who've seen the subpoena list swear Rebel's new counsel, the one she quietly switched to after dropping Friedman in February, is already prepping her with mock sessions that run until 2 in the morning. But the real fireworks are reserved for Wallace himself. He's been subpoenaed to appear on May 15th, and his own lawyer has already filed a motion to quash, claiming the recording was illegally obtained, even though it was produced under court order in the Baldoni matter. Too late. The judge already denied that motion last week, which means Wallace will have to sit there and explain why his own voice note references Friedman by name and says, quote, "Brian signed off on the budget for the Madame angle." Meanwhile, Gregor Cameron and Vince Holden are being dragged in for their own depositions the week after. Cameron, Go's husband and co-producer on the film, is the one who allegedly signed off on the disputed 900,000 in Australian dollars that Rebel claims vanished. New forensic accounting exhibits filed Tuesday show wire transfers routed through a Singapore shell company tied to Cameron's old music management firm, with timestamps that line up exactly with production wrap dates in 2023. Holden, the third producer named in every suit, is the quiet money guy, the one who handled Blavatnik's side of the financing. And his depot is expected to reveal exactly how much pressure came down from Access Industries when the first Madame headlines started popping up in Google results. Blavatnik himself isn't being called, but his representatives have already sent a formal demand letter through London Council asking for full reimbursement of the $22 million they fronted, citing reputational contamination as a material breach of the production agreement. That letter is now Exhibit 147 in the California case, and it's got every studio lawyer in town screenshotting it, because if Blavatnik pulls funding mid-litigation, it sets a precedent nobody wants to test. Charlotte McInnes is the wild card everyone's watching. The young lead actress, who was supposedly at the center of the penthouse incident, has her own Australian defamation suit still pending against Rebel, but she just filed a protective order in Los Angeles asking to give her deposition remotely from London. Her lawyers claim the leaked audio has triggered fresh harassment, death threats, doxing attempts, the whole nightmare. All because the anonymous sites painted her as one of the procured girls in the fabricated testimonials. McInnes' team submitted screenshots of DMs she received after the THR story dropped, messages from random accounts saying things like "You're next on the Madame's list" and "Blavatnik parties are waiting." She is asking the court to seal her testimony and let her appear via Zoom, so she doesn't have to fly back into the same media storm that already stalled her career once. Rebel's side is fighting that motion hard, arguing McInnes needs to show up in person so they can cross-examine her live about the breakdown claims that started this whole mess. It's a chess move wrapped in a victim plea, and the judge hasn't ruled yet, but insiders say he is leaning toward remote to avoid turning the courtroom into another circus. The financial bloodbath is the part that's keeping the settlement talks alive behind closed doors. According to sealed damage calculations submitted last month, Rebel scam Sugar is claiming $8.2 million in lost revenue from the delayed release, plus another $3 million in personal reputational harm. Go's side is countering with a $12 million demand that includes the cost of scrubbing the Madame sites from every search engine on Earth, plus punitive damages for the solicited smear. Blavatnik's people have quietly offered to mediate a global settlement, drop everything, pay Rebel a flat $10 million to walk away, let the film drop in Australia next April with zero promotion, and everyone signs a mutual non-disparagement clause thicker than the Los Angeles phone book. But here's a sticking point nobody's saying out loud. Rebel wants the film released on her terms, with her director's cut intact, and Ghost wants a public apology that never mentions the word Madame, but still clears her name. Those two demands are currently crashing into each other like freight trains, and the mediation scheduled for next week in a neutral Century City conference room is expected to drag until at least June. The industry fallout is already happening in ways you can't see from the outside. Talent agents are rewriting crisis PR clauses in every new contract, adding language that specifically prohibits anonymous domain creation and trafficking allegations. Publicists at bigger firms are deleting all old group chats with Wallace and Nathan, and at least 2 A-list clients have quietly fired the agency group since the audio dropped. One Oscar-winning actress, who I won't name but you can probably guess, texted her manager the day the story broke. If my team ever even thinks about doing that to someone, fire them before lunch. The same week, a major studio head told a room full of producers at a private dinner in Malibu that any project involving Rebel or Ghost now carries an automatic litigation reserve of $5 million, just in case more tapes surface. That's how deep the chill goes. And the film itself? The Depp is still sitting in a post-production vault in Sydney, fully edited, fully scored, with a locked picture that Rebel personally approved before everything exploded. Distributors who were circling it for 2026 awards run have all pulled their offers. The April 2026 Australian theatrical date is still on the calendar, but only if the settlement happens before the print deadline. Otherwise, it goes straight to streaming on some tiny platform nobody watches, and the 300 crew members who poured their hearts into it will finally get their final checks, minus the legal fees that ate half the budget. This is the end game. Nobody saw coming when Rebel first stepped behind the camera with that malaria vision fire still burning in her chest. A dream project that was supposed to prove the funny girl from the caravan could direct turned into the moment the entire town realized even the underdogs hire fixers who know how to burn everything down. The depositions in May will decide whose version of reality the court believes. The mediation in Century City will decide who walks away with the money. And the film that's still sitting on a shelf in Sydney will decide whether any of this ugliness was worth it. Because at the end of the day, when the lawyers finish billing, and the sides are scrubbed, and the whispers finally die down, all that's left is a musical comedy about small-town girls chasing their debutante dreams. A film that might never see the light of day because the people who made it decided the only way to win was to destroy each other first. That's the raw truth I've been chasing since this audio first crossed my desk. Not the childhood stories, not the early set fights, not the tape itself that we already broke down frame by frame. This is the part where the millions get counted, the depositions get scheduled, and the industry finally has to look in the mirror and admit how easy it is to turn a dream into a smear when the stakes are high enough. Hollywood doesn't change, it just gets better at hiding the receipts until someone like me pulls them into the light. This has been Strange and Dirty Hollywood, the one guy who knows every secret they are still trying to bury. If you've got insider info on this mess or any other buried scandal, text, recordings, settlement drafts, anything, send it my way. Anonymity 100% guaranteed. Contacts are in the description. Subscribe right now so you never miss the next one. Smash that like button if you want me to keep digging this deep. And drop in the comments who you want me to expose next. Until then, stay dirty, Hollywood. I'll see you in the dark.